Experts say if you think security is expensive, try insecurity. And it is within this purview that this day's edition of Frank Talk we will attempt to look at issues that surround security financing within public and private SIMs, also training and retraining. To walk us through this is a security consultant in person of Kelvin Fineface. He also happens to be a public goodwill ambassador.
Good morning.
Glad to have you here.
My pleasure.
Yes, I am Alpha Jagden, and the program is Frank Talk. Thank you so very much for joining us this morning. Let's go straight to the business of the day. Experts suggest 40% of revenues should be tilted towards security to look after the 60. Do you agree with same?
I don't know where you got that figure from, but I think it should be 55%. And I will tell you why I said so. There is nothing you do here on earth that is not security based. And for you to have effective security infrastructure on ground, it must be concentric. If it must be concentric, then you're looking at the long-term effects of strategies, methods, operational patterns, and administration that you're going to deploy. So if you have, for an instance, an investment of 100 million, you should have been able to understand that that 100 million investment should last for 20 years probably. And so your security financing or budget should at least take up to 55% of that 100 million in order to ensure that it's sustainable and serve the purpose for which that project is for. So the 40% is good, it could be better.
Crime seems to always be ahead of security efforts.
And you want to know why?
Okay.
Because the criminals are always ahead. They always look for ways to get things, and that is, it always happens so where we don't have a good research and development mechanism in place. If a country does not have a security template put in place, it will be difficult to envisage likely scenarios, do sting operations to ensure that you nip and not to allow for things to happen. So you see criminals are way ahead. And also the approach we use in this part of our crime and other places I've seen is that we tend to give more information to the criminals to look for a way to subvert, avert, or undermine our system put in place. Why can't we make security an all-comers affairs where community policing becomes the order of the day?
We'll discuss that
in every
We'll discuss that, in the course of the program. But looking at it, when you talk about giving information out, what do you really mean?
When I talked about giving, it means that you need to know what your responsibilities are as a citizen of a nation, as a resident of a community. What are the key responsibilities that you need to carry out in order to help with the concentric measure that we put in place as to help contain threats from external aggressors or internal aggressors? So what do we do with that? So the government need to come up with a template. This is what we think will be good for us to achieve this purpose. Digest, break that down to easily digestible mechanism. So the little kid in the primary school understands the role that the pupil needs to play in order to help achieve the bigger goal. If we put such kind of measures in place, we will now begin to see ourselves having less crimes being perpetrated, making it almost difficult for people to want to engage in crime. Why do we have crime? Unemployment it's one of the reasons of crime. Moral decadence is one of the reasons. So what are we doing as families to inculcate values? I grew up in a family where my late dad would always tell you, if you must steal or be a thief or get into crime, you will die before my time. And you won't bear my name because I won't stand that. So such values, and he said, if at work, if at play, always say the truth. There's nothing like the honest man. We're not honest, but we want to become an honest man. Such values are no longer there. We're not inculcating. We celebrate criminals so easily that they become more, role models to our youth. If we begin to punish those who are supposed to be punished, as they're supposed to be punished, and ensure that people get to see that there's no incentive in crime, crime will not fade away. It's on its own. You have today in Norway, in the Netherlands and Norway, their prisons are almost like in Netherlands, for instance, their prisons are empty. looking for ways. In Norway, the prisons don't have fences. They have like homes, giving the opportunity to rehabilitate, make them that life is beautiful. You can't get into crime and do all those things. So people gradually begin to see that there's no need. People steal because they think they need to have what others have that they don't have.
That's right.
And that's because they don't have good family upbringing. And the society itself does not also help encouraging such kind of activities by celebrating those who have done wrong. If the society begins to punish those who have done wrong, why can't we banish, let's for instance, somebody in my community comes back home with, word that he cannot explain. Why can't we just call him if he cannot explain to us? We banish him, make it public that this person came with word that we don't like. So others can know that he can't come in with any word and be celebrated. If that happens in all communities, the same person is not received in another community, guess what? He will just get tired and say, I don't need this money anymore, I want to be, because human beings can't just live in isolation.
That's right.
So there's a concentric measure that is required. That's why I said the government that is supposed to be the policy formulators and drivers need to come up with an holistic plan that runs through the noise rate or tertiary institution, that by the time you leave any level of institution, you have some measure of information as to what is required of you. Do we have emergency preparedness plan put in place? No, we don't have one. We only have different policies being written, and you see different people look for ways to make more money from those policies. And at the end of the day, nobody is implementing what is supposed to be implemented.
And most times it's fire brigade approach anyway.
It's until something happens.
Until something happens,
even when you have agencies of government that probably analysis are come out and say, look, we're expecting that there's going to be flood in this area, that people need to be aware. Proactive. State governments don't take proactive measures and see how you can do relocation or embark on a massive infrastructure to rechannel flood waters and all of that, and even use the flood water as a form of mini hydros.
That's right.
And to power the entire community. Those are ways that innovative ways we can do things. There are natural disasters that you can't run away from, but the kind of floods that we have in this country are floods that it constitutes major security risk. It constitutes crime. It is food insecurity on one side. It brings disease security, insecurity on the other side. These are things that can be avoided, but ignored because some people feed fat from things like this.
Right.
There are those who see themselves as flood mongers. Once there's flood, they supply those materials, relief materials, and from that they do undercut business, with those irresponsible. And at the end of the day, they make more money. So they see that as the short gap measure to enrich themselves and live well in a country where they don't have proper security or future to hold on to. So there's a fundamental problem. That's why I said the government needs to drive. Now, if the government is not doing anything, what are we doing as individuals?
Very good.
Those of us who are enlightened are taking measures. That's why I'm here today.
That's right.
To be here to contribute my quota in some measure to bring that enlightenment. Because when people get to know what they need to do, they'll be willingly be ready to want to do what they need to do, because nobody wants to get into trouble for just getting into trouble for trouble's sake.
I would like to find out from you, when it comes to issues that bother on early warning signals, early warning signs, security threats, natural disasters, and what have you, why are we always nonchalant about it? Let me use that word.
Why are we always nonchalant about it? Let me ask you, I don't know what it was back in your days, if you had the highway code taught in primary school. In your days, I know that happened. You also had some form of emergency scenarios. The first aid was always there. You always have those opportunities. So before you cross, look left, right, then left again.
Before
you go. The zebra crossing rules and all of those things were there. We grew up with this, with songs and all of that, and we were conscious about them. And for that reason, we would not find ourselves getting into troubles related to those areas that we have been informed in.
Way ahead of time.
So, but today you don't find that. So you see people, when they say things are coming, what you now see is that people tend to rely more on faith than faith.
I have prayed in the morning.
Praying in the morning, God will take charge. Now, because God will take charge, and also because we find out we have irresponsible political leadership that fail to project as a nation. This is what we're looking at. How do we drive at this thing? This is how we're going to arrive at what we're looking at. Draw up a baseline, come up with a timeline of that baseline, and disseminate that information to the entire nation. This is your responsibility as a citizen of this country to be part of this holistic plan that we have.
That's right.
Because there's nothing like that. When the early warning signs comes in, they sound like one of those rhetorics of government agencies. because in time past, some of these agencies have not been accurate with their information, with their analysis, because they didn't do proper job. So people lost faith in their submissions. You remember in those days where if you put on the TV, they'll tell you the weather is likely this and it's likely going to rain, or there's always no certainty of what will happen. Until recently, we started having some form of accuracy in such kind of weather report. So with the public confidence has been eroded because of such shoddy, responsibility that has been shown. I believe if the government consistently come up with analysis and it happens, as they said, people begin to take them serious for their words and begin to do things. Now, beyond the people taking the government serious or the agencies of government serious or of their analysis on their projections on the threats, what is the government doing in information enlightenment? What is National Orientation Agency doing, for instance? If the agency of government, let's say NEMET, has come up with this weather report, I believe before NEMET come up with that report to tell the general public, they need to have an interface discussion with.
That's if there is
Orientation Agency.
That's right.
Because there's supposed to be government synergy.
Yeah.
And say, look, this is what we're coming up, and we need you to make this and bring it down to the least person in this country. Orientation Agency will take that information, digest it to the smallest,
even in various
languages,
so that
everybody will get to know what is coming.
Yeah.
Then they also look at cluster bodies. Let's look at the farmers. They have you have the different farming organizations that are there. You call them for a stakeholders meeting to tell them way ahead of time, this is what is coming. They have a way to also reach their community and say, look, this is what is coming, this is how you need to prepare yourself. By the time you disseminate information to the different bodies that be, you also call the security agencies, look, this is what we're looking at coming in the nearest future, and these are the likely threats we're going to have. What is the security implication of this thing? You will look at the health sector. You talk with the NMA and the rest of them and say, this is what is coming. What is the likely health risk that we're going to face? So when you do your risk analysis, for crying out loud, it's not rocket science. These are simple things to be done. I just explained a simple methodology in order to achieve, a much needed or avoid what should actually be further as a nation, because we don't put economic value to all of these things. There's not been any, outright report on the economic value of the different flaws that we have. We just have some form of projection and say X, Y, Z, millions of goods were lost. There's no concrete information coming from these results of different flaws that we had. Lagos was submerged. Right. Port Harcourt was. Kebbi, is going. Kogi, Niger,
parts of Abuja.
Abuja. Somebody died in Abuja and Gwarimpa, a flood. Should it be so? If we now realize that there's been more rainfall, heavy rainfall to some measure, what are we doing with the infrastructure put in place before now? Were they done in projection of the rainfall that we're expecting?
Well, I spoke with an expert last week just to attempt to answer that. He told me no, that because global trends have changed, and what they are saying now is that where you were probably expecting this millimeter of rainfall, the thing sometimes has increased by 100 and even 80%, that kind of a thing. So as far as infrastructure is concerned, it wasn't designed to contain same.
If you notice the different hurricanes and thunderstorms and storms in the northern hemisphere, the US and all those areas, you realize that those storms were given names.
Yeah.
The hurricanes were given names. Why were they given names?
In preparation.
Because they have seen it coming. Did a projection, did analysis of what the effect would be, and put your likely scenarios. So they have to give it a name to identify the particular problem that is coming, so it can be addressed appropriately. So someone will not see it coming and call it that God is coming to take everybody out of the place. We know that this is Haima, this is Ave, and know what to do, because as the storms are coming, they're also asking for evacuation to take place.
That's right.
Some get stubborn that they want to remain, and they let them be, because that's your fate, O Israel. But you see, if government, I kept calling government because
I sometimes get worried because we all look forward to government for too much. I'm glad people like you and I are doing what we're doing. This is all in contribution to nation building. It's because of love for country. I also hope those that are whose main purview it is are listening and are taking notes.
I think they listen to look for faults, so they don't hear you clearly. Yeah.
And if you look for faults, you'll always find.
You always find fault. So what they do, they hear us speaking, don't listen to understand the issues that have been raised. Right. They rather look out for things that embarrasses the government.
No objectivity.
No, so they say, oh, this guy is the way he's talking is embarrassing the government. Now, those in government, a lot of people who find themselves in government and governance have no business being there. They only saw the window of feeding their mouth and their stomach with their families. They say, oh, if I get to this place, after a while, I make XYZ money and that's it. So there's no vision. So there's no passion with which you do the job. I heard someone called, NEMA to lend his support. They have materials to give for the Benue, flood victims and all of that. And the guy would pick the phone and said he was on holiday. He can't do anything because he was on holiday observing his,
I read that.
Does it really count? Yes, you are a human being. You have your life to live, but where's the passion for the job that calls for emergency? That lives are at stake. Somebody is coming to willingly want to donate what he has to contribute to the good of his fellow human being. You that is the mediator
who is supposed
to be in a hurry to say, okay, this is good. Now, but if that was a contract, the man won't be on holiday
at that time.
No, he won't be, because he will see the need to make money and want to lash on that. So we need to begin to change the cycle. Those in government, I think we need to have a proper recruitment process. This is part of the reason why I'm talking about the nursery level of development. If we start inculcating such values from our nursery school, they grow up with the mentality getting to the primary, from primary to the secondary to the university. I believe when they leave university, want to go for paid employment, they will go with that passion that will drive them to want to put service first before self. Once service comes before self, then you begin to see results coming the way it's supposed to come in. They come up with fantastic policies. Most times I see some of the government policies, it looks like it is just copy and paste without editing. To let it be an homegrown thing. They see something that is fantastic, they copy it and paste it. Life generally is copy, edit, and paste, because there's not been a new thing that has been existed apart from improvements. Light is an improvement. Everything we use is improvement. So if it is improvement, it means it's copy, edit, and paste. Can't we do the same thing as we go about our security mechanism, to ensure that we have proper containment?
That's right.
And ensure that people don't get to have interest or even don't get into crime. Why would government buy vehicles and security equipment and go public and indicate what they have to fight crime? Why? Don't they see that it's a disservice?
That's right.
Where is the surprise element?
Why make the enemy
know what you have? So you now look for a way to counter what you have. Why don't you have our streets lit up with lights? Why do we have darkness everywhere? Crime pervades in darkness. What is government doing to address that? That when the night comes, the people still have confidence to walk around going about their normal business. In Abuja currently, you can't go to some places. I was recently attacked, stabbed multiple times on my body, made away with my valuable items on the streets of Abuja, on the expressway of Mabuchi, with my vehicle, because the place was dark. So can't the government begin to take concrete steps to addressing these things and ensuring that the people need to begin to take proper ownership? We have the CCTV being installed in the city of Abuja became a major sham. That was a scam that was just installed there because there was no proper environmental impact assessment that was done before that was implemented. So the people don't take ownership of that infrastructure. The cameras are there, they're not working, they are boggled, stolen, and vandalized. If they are working, you would have seen who was going to vandalize it, and a rapid response squad would have gone in. Such kind of architecture should have been come with a concerted measure. You have the patrol van positioned at different points to meet up with response. With response, you have the people taking ownership of these things because it's their money. But because they don't get to know what you're doing, they say it's government business, so they don't care. So somebody sees the battery, needs the battery, sees that if he takes this battery is about 120, 130,000 naira, he goes to the market and sells for 50, somebody will buy, and that will help him to, take care of it. He goes and he doesn't care who suffers at the end of the day, because for him, that's his way to get this in. What is government doing? What am I doing to help in addressing this thing? I am talking for me to ensure that, because I know this is what it is. Let me talk about it. You are now doing what we're doing, contributing to our national quota, ensuring that we address this issue to have, a at least comfortable, seemingly good security architecture put in place. If they don't have a national template, but what can be done? I think if we can address this thing, then we'll be able to have, proper security management.
If you look at the government sector, you can say, all right, maybe to a large extent, those that are saddled with this responsibility are doing their best. But I want us to take some time and speak on their need for proper training and retraining, not just for those in the public sector, but for those in the private sector. Because in most cases, these guys are security guards. When you visit institutions, all you see them is you see people wearing uniform. What level of training do they have? To a large extent, how most of them are even very demoralized. Because a company, I understand, sometimes may pay 30,000 for them, and what eventually gets to them is about 15,000 naira. Should government, should the body responsible for overseeing such things not step in and say, listen, you cannot collect, let's say, 30,000 naira on behalf of this person and then give him 15,000? Why not give him 25,000 and keep the 5,000?
You know what you're saying. I don't know how safe this would be to discuss, because I have a concern with that. We have the civil defense,
That's right.
saddled with the responsibility in regulating private security guards in the country. Don't forget that these private security companies need to survive. There are individuals behind these security companies. You pay 30,000 naira. They have administrative surcharges that they need to embark on before giving these guys the salary they pay. We have a labor law that says minimum wage is 18,000 naira. What are the security agencies, the law enforcers doing in mirroring, x-raying these things that's happening and addressing what is civil defense doing? What they rather do, you see them compete at an advantage position with the private security companies. They deploy their men for private security jobs and still earn salaries from those responsibilities. So they take double salaries, just like what Senator Messiah accused the police of. They still go do this work, for the private companies, not even government institutions, right. And they go and edge out the private security companies. So what the private security companies do necessary is to survive. To some extent, I don't blame them. But you see, I blame the government, the regulator, who is supposed to have shown standards that before we give you your license to operate, you must show proof to us that you have the capacity to pay this minimum, and with this minimum training. Majority of the security guards that we have in the country are not trained. If they are, they were only given seminars, because it's expected that what they're going to do is open door and close door, and that's it. Some of them use their own intuition to do what we expect to be like security. So they don't care. All they look for is that they have a way to want to survive. So you see them, they operate 2 shifts. Now, they only work 2 weeks. That's why some of these security guys are paid 15,000 naira. In some places, they work 10 days. How do they do it? They work 24 hours, they go off, another person come do the work and work 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours. Some of these guys stay 48 hours on duty and stay off for the other 2 days. So at the end of the day, they work only 30 days or 12 days. So the money they are being paid is some way being managed by them, because if they are paying their transport every day, they won't survive the 15,000 naira. But because they don't pay their transport, and so it also exposes them to become national beggars or community beggars. So you go to this establishment, they greet you in an unusual manner and say happy weekend to you in an unusual manner, and expect that they look like beggars expecting your arms. And so once you give them, the next time you come in, they don't follow security drills as much as they should follow security drills. They forget about the frisking and all of that. They say, Oga don't come. They say, open door for Oga, just like that. This is just a common trend that you see happening because the regulators aren't doing the job as it should be done. Rather, what they do, they slam huge amount of money to these security companies, private security companies, and ask them to pay millions for their licenses without creating an enabling environment for these companies to thrive and to succeed, to be sustainable. So a lot of security companies are also folding up because they can't sustain the yearly, licensing fee, because they don't even make that money. Do we have private security guard as a national security template, ensuring that they go through some form of training before they are, deployed in the various locations? What is the SSS doing? What is the civil defense doing? What is the Nigerian police doing to give some of this training? Why can't we do a 2 weeks, 3 weeks training for the private security guards that the police comes to let them understand the law enforcement aspect? SSS comes to tell them the internal security aspect. Civil defense comes to tell them about the other protection and the general security mechanism. Why can't you have such kind of collaboration? That they have a place for training, give them some certificate to prove that they've been through this process and that they are fit for this little information gathering mechanism so that they can become the first-hand community policing agents. Because the guys sees a lot.
That's right.
They have lots of information. That's why a lot of crimes that are taking place in some of these private places as a result of connivance, collaboration with the private security guards on duty. That's why they can be quick to steal diesels and all of that because they are not well trained. So we can look at it. Let the government review the policy of private security company setup and ensure that people who come in there have business to do the business. Yes, they say you have to come with some requirement, no doubt about that. But do they really understand the business of the solution they're trying to provide? And that mechanism put in place, you're a security man or officer, an agent, does not necessarily mean that you understand the business of the security. There is an understanding of security business and there is an understanding of security operation. They are two different things. There has to be a transition for the one who is leaving, who has retired and wants to get into business to understand what is required.
That's right.
So he comes into the industry and begins to play according to his expected norms. By so doing, there will be more return on that investment than the people will begin to enjoy. So some of these private companies also are to blame because they engage private security companies without getting to do proper review and analysis to be sure they are qualified to give them.
They are not vetted.
People like us do reviews for companies. Before you engage in a private security company, we'll come in, help you to ensure that the company has the capacity to provide the services they want to provide for you. It is an advantage for any private company to engage a private security guard, for their operation, for their security. Why? You transfer all of your insurance stress, majority of them to these people for in case of theft and other infidelity, if a lot of that fidelity challenge.
That's right.
But they don't know this. They don't know this, so they engage private security companies just anyhow without the reviews that is needed. They need professionals to help them to certify the companies for engaging in the job they want to do and sign the relevant document that need to be signed. If a crime happens in an environment, hardly the security companies pays for such crimes because in their documentation, in the legal memorandum of understanding, there was nothing put in that direction because the companies don't know and the security companies also take advantage of the fact that they are ignorant and run away with it. It takes only some professional organizations that understand this mechanism and bring in the right things. We can change all of that and ensure that all stakeholders, do the right thing so that we can have effective and efficient security, containment strategy in Nigeria.
When we look at the notion that most people have that, listen, security issues are the purview, are the what have you of just security agents, without the citizens playing their role, what comes to mind when you hear such things?
I don't blame them. It goes back to what I said, that from cradle to tertiary, we need to begin to introduce a national security template. We need to do that. Let's digest it. See, I have something I designed called, the security checklist for schools. It carried everybody, the gate man, the pupils, the teachers, the proprietor, the parents, and the community as stakeholders of that template. You don't go implement. If we must put light in an environment, we all must agree to put our lights. That's ownership. So tell me, if that light has issue, who will be the first to say? Everybody. Because they will know that the light is not on, money was voted for it, why is it so, who is supposed to be responsible, and you will see everybody, there will be accountability. But because we don't have this holistic stakeholders approach in our security containment, people tend to look at it as anyhow it goes. They don't care, like you just said. We leave it in the hands of these people. And so when there is any security breach, then you see the people call out the security agents. And once there is any security breach, the security agents begin to use fire brigade approach to sweep on everybody to show that they're doing this thing. Let me say this. I'd said in another, platform, in a national platform, why can't the average security agent with a school cert be paid the same salary that a councillor earns of minimum 150,000 naira? Why would you give someone an AK-47 to protect an environment and his take-home pay is nothing to take him home? That can't sustain him for 1 month, even if he lives the most simplest life. That he does not have a home that he calls his own, that he'll be taken care of. His kids can't go to school because he can't pay the fees. The public schools are not effective, they're not efficient, they're not working. So he has to make sure that his kids have some form of better education, but he can't sustain it. That is where our problem starts from. Our security architecture suffers most because of lack of adequate incentives. Just a few days back, the senator in charge of the police, went to Kaduna to look at what is happening, and the men there were complaining that their incentives are not being given to them. And he cried and said, the allocation given to the police is too small. Yeah, I agree it is small, but that it is so because there's no accurate data indicating the real strength of the Nigerian police and their requirements. That's why it looks like it's small. Or else the funds that has been allocated would have been adequate if it was properly analyzed and the data were correct. But because some persons see it as a window to take care of their daily bread, decide to allow the things to be as it is and only complain. Every now and then, every year, you see state government partnering with the federal government through the Nigerian police in providing security, all the other security agencies. They buy them, vehicles and other security equipment.
That's right.
But these equipment, after the funfair, are not accounted for, is a problem. Because where are the vehicles that are issued? What vehicle maintenance mechanism do we have in place to see that in 4 years, this is what's going to be it, and know how those vehicles can be recycled, in helping private security companies maybe to have patrol vans to do their job, or community policing to have some form of vehicles to do their job, so we don't need to buy this. Why do government have to spend so much money in buying hundreds of vehicles, and at the end of the day, go and begin to repaint them to police colors? Why not approach the companies and ensure that from the factory, this is done? So you reduce your expenditure. If government knows that they are going to buy 2,000 vehicles in a year, it means it's a good deal for any auto company to know that 2 vehicles will pay, this is what they need. And they will produce it as you require. Why do we use the fire brigade approach? So the governor comes in, he goes and buys this vehicle because there's also another court to that relationship. They go award the contracts to go paint them, and after that they come back, they do the funfair, and that's it. And they hand over to the security agencies. From there, the vehicles disappear to different persons. They go and respray them again. Because if you look at the number of vehicles that are being bought by different state governments, and the police can't go on for rapid response, or rapid rescue and all of that, it's a sad situation. It breaks my heart that police vehicles will be breaking down on the road. It breaks my heart. There are mechanism technology that can help you to know your vehicle usage and monitor it in 27 parameters and report 12 to 17, parameters. On the dashboard, you will see your wear and tear. You will know the acceleration and deceleration mechanism. You know the fuel usage. You will know everything of the vehicle. And it can be remotely monitored. There are technologies that are available for such, which will help in vehicle maintenance management. Is it rocket science? No. So vehicles are going to be bought. You will know when to buy vehicles. State government will not just go and buy vehicles any longer just for buying sake because they want to make money. That's why, there's a whole lot of, a connected relationship. And so we want to have accurate data, a national accurate data that covers human and material, needs. We will begin to see our responsibility will come up and accountability, because then the people begin to take ownership of governance and get those in power to be accountable to them. By so doing, our security financing will be what is required and will be enough to take care of what's needed to meet up. Another aspect we have actually failed to look at is intelligence gathering. There are no available centers, data centers available for people to throw in their information that can be processed to be intelligence.
Okay.
We see numbers given to the public to call that sometimes you can't even get to know them off-air. How do you do that? That you don't have a national emergency number that can easily be accessed. The information being sent. Or with this age and time of social media and internet and all of that, I see the Nigerian police do something recently with public complaint, department, and they've been effective to some extent. They've been doing well. I will see results. If that can be strengthened, deployed by other security agents, we'll be able to have timely information that will help in the right intelligence to curb crimes before they happen. Although sometimes the security agencies will allow some of these things happen in order to also show relevance, because that's the only time they can be given some money that they need. I'll give you an instance. When the first bomb blast happened in Abuja, the October 1 bombing that took place,
That's right.
what happened? Government changed the policy. There was a policy that was issued in all government agencies ensuring that they put bollards and getting security equipment. That became a fiesta of corruption for these agencies, because they started now getting things without proper reviews and analysis to ascertain what they really need. So you saw them putting bollards everywhere that they don't even need to put bollards, buying under belts scanning devices that are not effective. Some people traveled to somewhere Asia, I don't want to call a name, and brought in a lot of substandard products that some could not even check to ascertain that these products are fit for our country. So we have this disconnected relationship. There's no synergy with the different government agencies. As a security consultant, I think that SON should be able to be a major partner with security agents, ensuring that the equipment they buy are up to standard, because there's a professional aspect of SON that is needed by the security agents to ascertain the authenticity of the equipment, the longevity of the equipment, and how you can give value. So you don't just say these are security equipment, because the security agents, none of them also know what they are buying. They only get to know that this will be good for this. They've not tested it. They are not producers. Right. They're not manufacturers. They're only users. So if they are users, how are we coming on board to see that in all of the security agents that we have, that government is creating an enabling environment to have technical, agents who also understand either manufacturing processes or production processes, so that by the time this equipment comes in, they can test this equipment and so certify them to run in our nation and to help carry out this thing. But because the regulators are not doing what they're supposed to do, people import everything they need to import. And the only time you see them working effectively is when an equipment or a device is used to commit crime and it becomes a national embarrassment. Then they will put a policy to stop that equipment from coming to the country, just like the drone, for an instance.
That's right.
Or the bulletproof vest.
That's right.
Now our armored vehicles, because people used to commit crime, they now put a policy to ensure that you must go through a particular process. That's like, for me, that's a fire brigade approach. That's medicine after death.
That's right.
Because some people have already imported this into the country before now. There must be standard.
When you hear stories like the customs have seized as much as 1,100 guns, what comes to mind? Do you find that elating?
Failure of intelligence. The custom has an intelligence unit that also goes into the market like the normal importer or exporter would do, and they gather information. How effective are they? How empowered as the government empower these people to carry out their job? The other security agents, what analysis are they doing to see, with the current political instability, to some extent of agitations?
That is going to be our final.
Some extent of agitations. What has the government done to analyze the need for harms by some of these agitators and carry out scenarios, do a projections, look at countries that would be viable for such imports, that who don't want to follow the arms treaty deals and want to give any and everybody arms without getting a country of destinations approval
through the black market.
So there are countries who are willing to sell this thing to any and everybody because they need the money.
That's right.
They don't care what you do with it. You can go to any cover to buy anything. But it is the responsibility of a nation to ensure that they have an holistic approach, a proper synergistic approach with countries that produce arms, and by their confidence that we will always give you some form of patronage. We'll buy your arms. And so please, if you have anybody who comes from us to buy arms, ensure that we get to know. It's basically intelligence partnering. They do that. That's why you have the Interpol, because you need to share intelligence. How are we abreast and readily available to help other nations to doing this thing? So when I see 1,000+ arms coming to this place, it's just a failure of a system. I don't even blame the importer. Whatever disguise that was used, I don't blame the importer for bringing such arms, because the importer knows that the environment is ripe for such kind of opportunity. If the government had done our responsibility as expected through the security agents, they would have known that some persons will have the need for arms because of their agitative style.
That's right.
That they will need arms to defend themselves when the government on a part unnecessarily will usurp the citizens' rights. You don't use force in areas you don't need force. They're a place for force. When the people are going about a peaceful protest, what you need to do is to use intelligence and abuse their mind. Just abuse their mind from continuing. Pick a few of their persons and get them on your side. And they go back and say, we don't need this protest. Let's follow this approach. Let's do Georgia rather than war. These are mechanisms that need to be deployed. But we use sentiments in our approach to things. So you see them use brute force. If you use brute force on me, you kill my brother. You kill another person tomorrow. My brother, I will look for a way to defend myself.
Definitely.
If I don't use local power, I will look for a way to get any other power to do that. Except, of course, I have a moral burden to protect. A lot of these persons who are doing agitation don't have a moral burden to protect. For me, government had allowed criminality to fester so well that they've not become role models. And so that's why they always speak. No militant has the right to threaten a country of our security. No militant. I can't be the president of this country and allow that to continue. I will sack all service chiefs, because you are supposed to have the intelligence to know who is coming to raise his ugly head and ensure that that is nipped, and not to begin to go negotiate with militants or some criminals, or someone just comes from nowhere and begin to talk about he wants to have secession and people begin to celebrate him. That's rubbish. It's not right. It's a failure of security. As a mechanism put in place, the government has failed on their part in ensuring that they hold them accountable. Agents have also failed on their part, and the citizens have also failed woefully, because they have allowed the system to function without being partners of our national security. And we need to change that. Let's begin to do the right thing. Let's punish those who are supposed to be punished. And that reminds me, if we must do an effective security mechanism and put in place and ensure everybody gets this in, let us punish even the coup plotters. Those who have been involved that are alive in different forms of coup, let's punish them. Because when we punish them, it will help the militants not to come brazenly to want to show that they want to take power or ask for secession or anything. If we do that, I tell you the truth, no young man will want to get into crime with his two eyes open, because he knows that there will be a day for reckoning. But if we allow the coup plotters to continue, as I will tag them as stakeholders, then we are doing the wrong thing to this nation.
Kevin, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your thoughts. We have been looking at issues that border on security, funding, training, and retraining. The summation is that as citizens operating within the government, we all have a role to play. That's been our program for today. Do join us same time tomorrow for yet another interesting edition of the program, Frank Talk. I am Alpha Jackson.